Welcome to bonus video 5 of week 3. I really think this is a cool trick. Lots of photographers don't know about this, and it really opens up a whole new market for you. Listen, I don't care how great your camera and lens combination are, there are some things they are currently limited to do by physics alone. You're a photographer, you may know that the closer you get physically to your subject, the smaller your depth of field automatically becomes due to physics. Now you can only open your aperture so big or stop it down so much. You hit a limit on either side of that spectrum. And so you stop it down, let's just say you can do f32. But if you're 18 inches away, your depth of field is still frog hair, tiny, thin, minuscule. And so at some point you're going to have to compensate for that. And the way we do that is with a technique called focus stacking. Focus stacking. It's basically, well, here, look on my desktop. Here's an image of a Zeiss lens that I wanted to sell, but I shot it very close. And when I shot it that close with my camera stopped down as far as I could possibly get, which by the way also leads to a great deal of diffraction. So my images are usually softer this way too, you see. I want to compensate for that. So what I do is I focus in the front, and let me just show you what I mean. Let's open Bridge and let's look at the original so many images that I have. You see my original, it looks like maybe the internal blades, the shutter blades are semi in focus, and maybe this, I don't know, let's look at the next. Oh, here certainly the shutter blades are in focus, and these lights reflecting are in focus, but that's really about it. Here, this part seems to be in focus. Oh, and definitely the background. Kind of the front now is starting to get in focus, and here this edge is certainly in focus. You get the idea. Here at the bottom, my marks. On each one of these images, a particular area is in focus, but not all of it is ever in focus. Okay, now I want you to notice something else. My camera was on a tripod, and the simple fact of me focusing on different areas made my camera's lens, the motor, move forward and backward in order to capture that subject in particular focus. And so you'll watch, my image seems like shifting in and out. I'm not. In fact, my camera was completely stationary. I got to compensate for that as well. Here we go. Here's the trick. And this is a wonderful example of how Bridge is indeed the bride of Photoshop. So they're going to do this as a team, Bridge and Photoshop. I'm selecting in Bridge the first of many 9 images that I shot, and I'm going to hold the Shift key and click the last. Now that automatically selects for me, so I don't have to do what you learned in video 4, Command or Control, click, 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 click. If my images are all together, I can click on the first and Shift click on the last. I've done step 1, which is select all the images in Bridge. Step 2, she's going to drop her husband a little honeydew list. Oh, sweetheart. Oh, he's out playing with the tools. Yes, dear, he calls back. Snuggle Bunch, could you please load all these files into a Photoshop file, a single Photoshop file, but as multiple layers, ... Oh, honey bun, you know I will. Anything for you. And off he goes. So I'm finished with Bridge for focus stacking. Bridge lets me peruse my images, select my images, create a honeydew list. Tools, Photoshop, layers to Photoshop, right? And here we are. I'm not doing anything. It's Photoshop doing all the hard work there now. If I look at my layers panel, each one of those separate photos from Bridge are now separate layers in Photoshop, but one Photoshop file, not multiple Photoshop documents. All right, you ready for step 3? I'm going to click, just like we did in Bridge, click the top layer, shift, click the bottom layer, and all those layers are selected. Now, if you don't know how to select multiple layers like I just did, you will never see 2 menu items. If you don't have more than one layer selected at the same time, there are 2 menu items under the edit menu that are grayed out forever. One is called auto align layers and one is called auto blend layers. Let me just illustrate that. I've had one layer selected, and when I go up to edit, yep, sure enough, look at that, grayed out, grayed out. You've probably never bumped into these if you don't know how to select multiple layers. Shift click. Now that I have multiple layers selected, these 2 menu items activate. The first one is going to take each of those layers and be certain that everything that can align between them will align. And this is going to compensate for all that motor movement of the internal focusing of my camera. So I'm going to say auto align. Oh my gosh, look at all that stuff I don't know. Just ignore it. I don't know. Hit auto. See if it works. That's what I do. Okay. So I did auto align. I don't know. Auto. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a time out and show you, in fact, that the bottom image only had that much image to it. The next layer had that much image to it, and that was just from the motor movement on my camera. So those 2, one has been resized, the other has been resized. All of these layers have been resized so that it compensates for the movement. It compensates for all of that activity of my motor. All right, all those layers are selected and I'm seeing them all. You can tell that. Untime out. Step 4. Step 4 is edit menu, right back where we were. And this time auto blend. Silly name. Auto blend is where we find, hey look, there's panoramas. No, we're not doing it here. We're not doing panoramas in the slow, long, ram-piggy version of Photoshop. We're doing that in Bridge, remember. Last bonus video, number 4. But alas, there's no way to do focus stacking in Bridge alone. You have to come here and stack, focus stack your images. It takes multiple images, as the icon alludes, and merges them into one. Did you want seamless tones and colors? Okay, yes. If the edges had vignettes, this would compensate for that. Do you want me to automatically, based on the content, fill any transparent areas that may be left over? You could. It's basically going to clone for you based on intelligence, artificial intelligence. I'm going to leave that off for now until I need it. There it is. I'm blending selected layers based on content. What does that mean? As I vamp, because then this bonus video will be finished. Hey, the artificial intelligence called Sensei in Photoshop is looking at every pixel and deducing which ones are sharp. In fact, sharpest from layer to layer to layer. And those are the only pixels that this image will retain, the sharpest of each pixel. So if 9 photos doesn't do it, 27 might do it, or 42 might do it. But you can see this is a relatively slow and RAM intensive process. All right, when this is finished, I want you to look at the layers panel. Right now, if you look, you see a bunch of icons. But just then, wow, that image sure looks sharp. Yeah, in fact, it looks sharp everywhere it could look sharp. Sharpest. But instead, or in addition to the icons originally, I now see these black and white icons to each layer's original icons left. Here it is, these little black ones. It's amazing what Adobe Photoshop has done. And if you need more training in this, this is called a layer mask. And we talk about it in our Photoshop, our real Photoshop course on BPSOP. But the Auto Blend has automatically added layer masks to each layer. And a layer mask, wherever you see black, it says ignore that pixel. Where you see white, it says let's reveal that pixel. And it, layer by layer, decided where the better pixels were. That's where these white areas are. And on the next layer, and the next layer, and the next, and the next, and I'm going to click and drag all the eyeballs straight down, whoosh, until every pixel is accounted for. Wow, focus stacking. This is a very useful trick for shooting anything small, jewelry, for example. My son got a job as a jewelry photographer just because he knew this trick at age 22. Really well-paying gig for a 22-year-old, just here to say. But now you can compete because you know the same trick, focus stacking.